A sloth, a donkey, and a curious human. Send a prompt and see what they're doing. One hits record with a question on his mind. Two brothers pick it up, see what they find. Corn takes his time, Herman's got the facts. Back and forth, they never hold back. My weird prompts, come on in, that's where we begin. My weird prompts, glad you're here.
This episode was generated using artificial intelligence. Please verify facts.
My Weird Prompts is a community-driven initiative exploring how AI can fuel curiosity and uncover the fascinating ways our world works. GPU compute for this podcast is generously provided by Modal. Learn more at modal.com.
We have reached the final chapter of our deep dive into the Israel Wartime Readiness Field Guide. Today's prompt from Daniel wraps up this series by looking at the invisible perimeters we have to maintain, specifically digital information security, and the unique protocols for Shabbat and religious holidays. It is a fascinating intersection of high-tech defense and ancient tradition, and honestly, the stakes have never been higher than they are right now on this Sunday, March 22nd, 2026.
It really is the perfect way to close the series, Corn, because we are moving from the physical hardware of shelters and go bags into the realm of human discipline and technical configuration. We often think of the eyes of the enemy as being high-altitude satellites or sophisticated spy networks, but in 2026, the most dangerous eyes are often the ones looking through our own social media feeds. I was looking at the latest bulletin from the Israel National Cyber Directorate, the INCD, and they issued a massive warning just a few days ago on March 18th. They are seeing a sophisticated shift in how adversaries are using artificial intelligence to scrape civilian social media. It is not just about what you think you are sharing, it is about the digital breadcrumbs you leave behind without even realizing it.
That is the part that gets me. We think of information security, or INFOSEC, as something for the military or high-level government officials, but in a modern conflict, every person with a smartphone is effectively a sensor on the battlefield. I remember we touched on this back in episode 779, the cost of a click, but the situation has evolved. Herman, I saw a report that over 400 civilian accounts were flagged in just the last 6 months for unintentionally leaking sensitive positions. How does that even happen? Is it just people being careless with their captions?
It is much more subtle than a caption, Corn. These INCD reports highlight that Iranian-linked groups are using AI to perform what we call Battle Damage Assessment, or BDA. Imagine you are standing on your balcony and you take a quick video of an Iron Dome interception. You think you are just showing your friends how loud it was or how impressive the technology is. But to an adversary, that video provides two critical pieces of data. First, the launch point of the interceptor tells them exactly where the Iron Dome battery is located. Second, the point of interception, combined with background landmarks like a specific building, a unique street lamp, or even the silhouette of a mountain range, allows them to triangulate the impact site with terrifying precision.
So by trying to show off the defense, you are actually helping the enemy correct their aim for the next round of rockets. It is essentially providing a real-time feedback loop for their artillery.
Precisely. The IDF Information Security Department is very clear about this. Civilians are the eyes of the enemy when they post impulsively. When you share photos of an impact site, you are allowing the adversary to see if they hit their target or if they need to adjust their coordinates by 50 meters to the left. In the past, they had to wait for satellite imagery or ground reports, which could take hours or days. Now, thanks to social media, they get that data in seconds. This is why the rule is so strict. No live footage of interceptions, no photos of impact sites, no photos of troop movements or staging areas, and absolutely no photos of damage to sensitive infrastructure.
I think people also underestimate how much data is hidden in a simple selfie. You mentioned those 400 flagged accounts. Were those people actually taking pictures of tanks, or was it something more innocuous?
Most of them were completely innocuous. Someone takes a photo at a rest stop or in a parking lot, and in the background there is a specific type of military vehicle or a temporary antenna array that reveals a command post location. I can scan the background of thousands of photos a second, identifying those specific military assets and tagging the GPS coordinates from the metadata, or just by recognizing the local architecture. It is a massive data scraping operation. The golden rule for INFOSEC in 2026 is simple. If you are not sure if it is sensitive, do not post it. And if you see someone else post it, do not just ignore it, tell them to delete it. Your information discipline protects more than just yourself. It protects the entire community.
It feels like we are in a constant race between connectivity and security. On one hand, we need our phones for alerts, but on the other, they are our biggest liability. Speaking of alerts, there was a major update to the Homefront Command app, or Picud Harov, on March 12th, just about 10 days ago. They integrated satellite-based alerting. Why was that such a big deal?
That was a massive technical milestone, Corn. During heavy rocket barrages, cellular networks often get congested. Thousands of people are trying to call their families at the exact same moment, or the physical cell towers themselves might be damaged. If the alert system relies solely on the cellular data network, there is a risk of latency. As we discussed in episode 1455, the 90-second sprint, every second counts. A 5-second delay in receiving an alert can be the difference between making it to the mamad and being caught in the hallway. By integrating satellite-based alerting, the app can bypass the ground-level network congestion entirely. It ensures that the signal reaches your device directly, even if the local cell tower is overwhelmed.
But for that to work, the user actually has to have their settings dialed in correctly. I know you have been digging into the technical requirements for the Android version of the app. It is not just a matter of downloading it and forgetting it, right?
Not at all. This is where most people fail in their readiness. To function as a life-saving device, the Homefront Command app needs deep permissions. First, you have to set location services to always allow. If it only tracks your location while using the app, you will not get an alert if the app is in the background when a siren sounds. Second, you have to disable battery optimization for the app. Android is very aggressive about putting background apps to sleep to save power, but you cannot have your alert system sleeping. You also need to grant it permission to display over other apps, and ensure that it has a Do Not Disturb exemption. If your phone is on silent because you are sleeping, the app needs the authority to override that silence and blast the siren.
It sounds like a lot of battery drain, but I guess when the alternative is missing an alert, it is a non-negotiable trade-off. What about people who want to monitor other areas? Like, if I am in Tel Aviv but my parents are in Haifa.
The app allows you to add up to 10 areas of interest. This is a critical feature. You should set your home, your workplace, and the locations of your family members. Even if you are not physically there, you will get the notification. It gives you that extra minute to call them and make sure they are in their shelter. And for the desktop users, there is the Red Alert browser extension. If you are working with headphones on, your computer will give you the same real-time warning. You have to validate these settings before the crisis hits. Check for updates, ensure the alerting area is set, and test the sound.
Now that we have covered the digital perimeter, let's look at how to maintain that same level of security when the screens go dark for Shabbat. This is one of the most unique aspects of Israeli wartime readiness, how the observant community handles all of this. We are talking about Shabbat and the Jewish holidays, where the usual tools of technology, like smartphones and television, are typically turned off. How do you maintain situational awareness when you are intentionally disconnected?
This is where the concept of the silent wave, or Hagal HaShaket, comes in. It is a brilliant bridge between religious observance and emergency safety. Certain radio frequencies remain silent throughout the entire Shabbat. There is no music, no talking, no news. But the moment a red color alert, or Ziva Atom, is triggered for a specific region, the silence is broken by a voice announcing the location of the alert. The key frequencies to memorize are 92.4, 93.9, 100.7, and 103.3 FM.
So it is like a passive monitor. You leave the radio on at maximum volume before candle lighting on Friday evening, and it just sits there as a silent sentinel in your house.
And Channel 14 on television does something similar. They have a visual silent wave where the screen remains static or shows a simple graphic, but if there is an alert, it flashes the location and plays an audio siren. For many families, this is their primary source of information. It means they do not have to actively engage with technology, but the technology is there to save their lives if necessary. In high-density Haredi neighborhoods, they often have Shabbat sirens, which are internal public address systems synchronized with the national alert system to ensure everyone hears the warning.
We should mention the principle of pikuach nefesh here. For those who might not be familiar, it is the Halashic mandate that the preservation of human life overrides almost every other religious prohibition. In a wartime scenario, if a siren sounds on Shabbat, you are not just allowed to use your phone or carry your children to a shelter, you are required to do so.
That is a vital point, Corn. It is not a leniency, it is the law. If you need to check the Homefront Command app to see where an impact was, or if you need to call an ambulance, you do it. Most rabbis are very clear about this. They encourage families to have a Shabbat-ready setup, a radio or TV on the silent wave, a torch or flashlight preset on the nightstand, and closed-toe shoes right by the bed. You do not want to be fumbling for slippers in the dark when you have 90 seconds to reach safety. You should even keep your windows slightly open so you can hear the outdoor sirens more clearly.
The shoe thing is such a practical detail that people miss. In the middle of the night, if there is broken glass or debris, you cannot be running around barefoot or in flip-flops. It is part of that 90-second sprint we talked about. Herman, let's talk about the terminology, because this is where things can get confusing, especially for new residents or people who do not speak Hebrew fluently. We have these different types of shelters: mamad, mamak, and miklat. Can you break down the hierarchy there?
Sure. The mamad, spelled M-A-M-A-D, is your apartment's protected room. It is built into the modern reinforced skeleton of the building. The mamak, M-A-M-A-K, is the floor's protected room, usually found in slightly older buildings where there is a shared shelter for everyone on that specific floor. Then you have the mamam, M-A-M-A-M, which is a building-wide shelter, often in the basement. Finally, the miklat is a public bomb shelter, often located underground or in a separate structure nearby. Knowing which one you are heading for is step one.
And the alerts themselves. I hear Ziva Adam and Azaka used almost interchangeably.
They are related but distinct. Ziva Adam is the classic red color alert for an incoming rocket. Azaka is the general term for a siren. When you hear Hatrada, that is a warning. And when you hear Hakel Shaket, that means all quiet or all clear. However, in 2026, the Homefront Command usually advises staying in the shelter for 10 minutes after the last siren, just to be safe from falling shrapnel or secondary interceptions. The term for survival or resilience in this context is Hizardut.
Moving from the digital to the physical, let's talk about the specific numbers you need to have hard-coded into your memory. Everyone knows 911 in the States, but Israel has a more segmented system. Herman, can we go through the essential emergency numbers?
You really have to memorize these, because you cannot rely on searching for them during a crisis. 100 is the Israel Police. You call them for security incidents or if you find unexploded ordnance. They also have an SMS option at 052-202-0100. 101 is Magen David Adom, or MDA, the national EMS for medical emergencies. Their SMS is 052-7000101. 102 is the Fire and Rescue Service. 103 is the Electric Corporation for power outages or electrical hazards. 104 is the Homefront Command's information line. If you are confused about the guidelines or need to know which areas are under alert, that is your number.
What about support services? This is a high-stress environment, and people need more than just physical protection.
105 is the Missing Persons and Cyber Protection Hotline. 110 is the police information line for roadblocks. For welfare and emotional support, you have 118 for the Welfare Ministry and 1201 for ERAN, which provides emotional first aid. There is also NADAL at 1-800-363-363 for trauma support. For the observant community, 122-1 is United Hatzalah, which often provides the fastest community-based first response. And for senior citizens, there is star 8840.
I love that the Homefront Command has those SMS options. If you are in a situation where you cannot speak, or if the cellular voice lines are jammed, you can text. It is a small but critical redundancy.
Redundancy is the theme of this entire guide, Corn. Whether it is the satellite alerts in the app, the silent wave on the radio, or the manual checklist for your go bag, it is about building layers of safety so that if one fails, the others hold. There has been a lot of debate recently in the Knesset, especially this month in March 2026, about the digital divide. Older citizens are struggling with the transition to app-based alerts. There is actually a proposal on the floor right now to increase the volume and density of physical outdoor sirens, especially in rural areas, because we cannot assume everyone has a smartphone glued to their hand 24/7.
It is a fair point. Technology is a tool, but it is not a replacement for basic civil defense infrastructure. We have covered so much in this five-part series, Herman. We have gone from the physical engineering of the Mamad to the psychological preparation of the 90-second sprint, and now to the digital discipline of INFOSEC and religious protocols. What is the one thing you want people to take away as we wrap this up?
If I had to boil it down, it would be that resilience is a combination of hardware, software, and human discipline. You can have the strongest Mamad in the world, but if you do not have your shoes by the bed, you are at risk. You can have the best smartphone, but if your permissions are wrong, you will miss the alert. And you can have the most advanced defense systems, but if you post a selfie that reveals their location, you are undermining the entire effort. It is about taking ownership of your own safety. Audit your phone today. Ensure those Homefront Command app permissions are set to always allow and battery optimization is disabled.
It is that shift from being a passive bystander to an active participant in your own survival. I think that is the core message of the entire Israel Wartime Readiness Field Guide. It is not about living in fear, it is about living with preparation. Before we go, let's do a quick before Shabbat checklist for our observant listeners.
Right. First, check your channel 14 or your radio frequencies. 92.4, 93.9, 100.7, or 103.3 FM. Test the volume. It needs to be audible from the bedrooms. Second, verify your go bag is by the door. Third, ensure your closed-toe shoes are by the bed and the door. Fourth, have a torch or flashlight within arm's reach, preset on your nightstand. And finally, lay out a full outfit, not just pajamas, so you are ready to move.
It has been a heavy but necessary journey through this guide. We want to thank Daniel for the prompt that sparked this mini-series. It is one of those topics that feels urgent every single day, especially given the regional tensions we are seeing here in late March 2026.
It really does. And I hope this series has provided some practical, actionable steps for anyone living in or visiting a high-threat environment. The more we talk about these things, the more normalized the preparation becomes, and that reduces the panic when the sirens actually sound. Remember, the golden rule of INFOSEC, if you are not sure if it is sensitive, do not post it.
Well said, Herman Poppleberry. That brings us to the end of our five-part series on the Israel Wartime Readiness Field Guide. We will be back with more regular prompts soon, but for now, stay safe, stay prepared, and check those app permissions.
And remember, your information discipline protects more than just yourself. It protects the entire community. Thanks for sticking with us through this deep dive.
Thanks as always to our producer, Hilbert Flumingtop, for keeping the gears turning behind the scenes. And a big thanks to Modal for providing the GPU credits that power this show and allow us to process all this data.
If you found this series helpful, please consider leaving a review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. It really helps us reach more people who might need this information.
You can find the full archive and the RSS feed at myweirdprompts.com. This has been My Weird Prompts.
Stay safe, everyone.
Goodbye.
This episode was generated using Gemini Flash 3. Text-to-speech engine was Chatterbox.
Thanks for listening to our show, My Weird Prompts, where our thoughts go from slow takes to facts on cue. We change and follow through. My Weird Prompts, that's the close from sloth, from man, from long-eared host. My Weird Prompts, until next time, stay curious.